My ex's girlfriend treats me like a surrogate, controls my pregnancy, and claims my twins as hers without my consent, ignoring all my boundaries. I, a 29-year-old female, dated a guy, Joe, a 30-year-old male, for 3 months before he left me to go back to his ex, Kim, a 30-year-old female. Right after we broke up, I found out I was pregnant, and now I'm at 24 weeks. I let him know, and he was ecstatic. Turns out his girlfriend had fertility issues and would likely never be able to get pregnant naturally, and he has always wanted to be a father. Getting back together was out of the question for both of us, so he's still with his girlfriend. Joe was only allowed at the initial appointment because of COVID-19. We found out that I was having twins. According to Joe, when he told Kim, she had a mental breakdown about her infertility and wanted to talk to me. I met them at their house, and Kim stated that she wanted to be involved in my pregnancy because she would eventually be the children's stepmother. She started telling me that I needed to do a home birth, that I needed to formula feed so they could have the babies for half of the week, that she wanted one boy and one girl, and that she wanted the kids to call her mama since they would be calling me mummy. I shut her down and said I would make the best choices for my children and my body and left. Kim continued to be overbearing, texting me every day about my eating habits, exercise habits, and bitching about how a job wouldn't let her take maternity leave. At the virtual genetics counseling appointment, she attended instead of Joe and took over the whole meeting, trying to talk about her family history, which wasn't relevant. When it came time for my 20-week level 2 scan, they allowed me one guest, and Joe suggested I take Kim instead of him, which I refused to do. Joe did end up coming, and he found out the gender because I wanted to keep it a surprise for me, and so we could throw a gender reveal party. I put a pregnancy announcement on my social media. Then she put up an announcement saying they were expecting twins the non-traditional way and how blessed she was. I was irritated, but I kept my mouth shut. Then she threw a gender reveal party and posted it on social media, and I wasn't even invited. She also announced that she's having a baby shower. I commented on her post and told her to stop treating me like a surrogate, that the kids weren't hers, and that Joe didn't have any claim or custody of the kids until they were born. I then called Joe and reiterated all of this and stated that I would not be seeing either of them until we went to family court and that my mother would be my birthing partner. He and Kim and some of her friends and family are saying I'm an asshole, and her mother even called and insisted I give her one of my babies, like this is the parent trap. So, am I the asshole? And before we go to the update, we're going to cover a couple of comments. One from Total M who says, "Not the asshole. The Handmaid's Tale is a true story, huh? Who knew? She's totally out of order. Her fertility issues aren't your problem and aren't an excuse to try and take over your body. Also, splitting the kids like you're sharing a Twix is absolutely ridiculous. Clearly, she's more obsessed about getting her hands on a baby she can call hers than she is about being a stepmother to your kids." D-Dabs who says, "Not the asshole OP. From one single mum to another, move and then proceed with things. This sounds like an absolute nightmare. Move to the state where you want and then file for custody. Once they file first, you'll be forced to travel back and forth between states. That is not even saying you'll be able to stay in the state where you are if you don't file first. You absolutely need to do that first. You need to express her mental state when speaking to your lawyer. You need to be able to make sure that those children are not in danger with her laying claim to them. Just because he cheated on his wife and you had children is not her responsibility. She is acting irrational as hell." Stubborn Strudel says, "How do you know that this wasn't the plan all along, for Joe to get someone pregnant so he and Kim could have kids? You are not the asshole. Kim is borderline crazy and makes all of my mama senses go insane. I'd want to be as far away from her as possible, and I certainly would not want her helping raise my children." Les One More says, "This is so unbelievable. Kim is not his wife or fiancée. She is his girlfriend and has absolutely no rights in any way, shape, or form. What did she tell people at the baby shower? That you were having the baby for her and Joe? That you were going to give the babies to them after birth? Like others have said, be aware. Get a restraining order. Do not allow her anywhere near you. It's too bad she had fertility issues, but you are not the answer to her prayers. What right does her mother have telling you to give Kim one of your babies? It sounds like insanity runs in the family. 10,000% not the asshole. You haven't said what Joe's opinion is on this. Edit. Since Kim and Joe are not married, she will not be the stepmother, just the baby's daddy's girlfriend. And one more from Zeke, who says, I have an insensitive question, but I don't mean for it to be insensitive. It's sincere, not meant to be rude. If we assume someone in OP's position was not able to afford a family lawyer, hundreds of dollars per hour, would there be anything stopping her from getting an abortion as a way to stop this chaos in its tracks? If so, what would be the latest she could? I'm not saying at all that this is a feasible solution. No one should be pressured into an abortion they don't want, even if the pressure is from crazy exes and their partner's insane behavior. I'm just asking for practical reasons to know, not because it's advice I am giving. So the update says, I never considered that this could have happened on purpose. We used condoms because I do not react well to hormonal birth control, and I had to wait to get a non-hormonal IUD because of other medical issues. The Thursday I posted this, I went to the police, and they stated there was nothing they could do because a crime hadn't been committed, and my state orders of protection are criminal or family, so I was unable to get one against Joe. On Friday, I did get a lawyer, and they let me know in my state there was nothing I could do as far as custody before the babies are born. So I'll be leaving my state soon to ensure this isn't my baby's home state, and I can't be charged with anything. However, someone sent this post to Kim, and she came to my job, damaged my car, and broke a bunch of office windows. I work with kids, so she was arrested for not just criminal damage and trespassing, but also child endangerment. So that hopefully works in my favor. Also, if Joe did it on purpose, I don't think Kim knew, because she was screaming at me about how I stole her life and everything I had was supposed to be hers. Second update. I have orders of protection against both Kim and Joe. I left the state anyway, and Joe and Kim have started harassing me again because there's no legal jurisdiction when you leave the state. But I have enough evidence that I was able to press charges in my current state as well, and will be pursuing this restraining order here. Now, I have no additional advice. Probably what you've already received down in the comments, apart from document everything, and you're probably best out of there at the moment. And I'm glad you got orders of protection against both of them. For her to be turned up your job and acting this way, she needs some help, doesn't she really? And don't get me wrong, I'm not playing down what she's doing to you in this situation, but clearly she's going through some stuff as well. But let me know your thoughts on this story. Story 2. Am I the asshole for putting my neighbor's stroller outside in the rain on purpose and telling her to grow up? And our next story comes from Useful Importance 664, titled, Am I the asshole for putting my neighbor's stroller outside in the rain on purpose and telling her to grow up? I know it sounds bad, but hear me out. Me and my 2 roommates, have a problem with our upstairs neighbor. We live on the 2nd floor, and they have the 3rd floor. We share a hallway with stairs. She is a stay-at-home mom and has been living there with her family for over a year now. Husband and 2 kids, 8 and 1 or 2 years of age. During that time, she has always had the stroller at the bottom of the stairs, and therefore blocking our way in and out. It leaves a 15-centimeter gap to squeeze through. I've twisted my knee on multiple occasions trying to get in or out. I have asked her many times if she could fold the stroller so we can all come and go without problems. She has always come up with an excuse not to do it. Being a mom is hard, etc. In the last few weeks, they put a scooter in the hall, which makes the space to squeeze through even smaller. Besides that, they make a lot of noise and leave food scraps in the hall. We are very easygoing and don't complain about that. There would be no use talking to her about it anyway. They, however, love to complain about my dog's hair on the stairs, even if it's just one hair. I always clean up after my dog and vacuum too. Last week, I hurt my knee again, and I got fed up with trying to deal with them and decided to start putting it outside. After talking to some people, I decided to try and talk to my neighbor one more time. I asked her if she would be okay with putting her stroller outside because she doesn't fold it, and we can't pass, and I injured myself again. She told me that's okay. That was 2 days ago. Yesterday I got home and it was in the hall again, and I got angry and put it outside. It was raining and had been all day and would be all night. I knew it would be soaking wet and that it would make her angry. Now she came to my door angry because her child had wet pants after using the stroller. I reminded her of our conversation 2 days ago, and she told me that the agreement wouldn't hold up during rain. That is when I got angry and raised my voice and explained how rude they/she has been, and that we never complain and only ask for one thing. She told me it's my fault, that I can't do this. I responded by telling her to grow up and take responsibility for her actions and have her landlord contact me because I am done with her. I'm a very non-confrontational person, and I feel bad for yelling at her, but I'm so done trying to be nice and not getting anywhere. Am I the asshole? Eat it. I want to thank everyone who came up with a suggestion and/or advice. I really did not know what to do anymore or where to go for help, but there has been some really good advice in the comments. Well, surely she's blocking an exit, and that's illegal anyway, so I'm definitely going to say not the asshole. Not the asshole all the way through this. You know, you'd think someone would have a bit of respect for others living in the same building. And if I was in that position of that mother, there's no way I'd think putting like a buggy or stroller in front of a door, an exit of all things, would be an okay thing to do. There's just no way that would ever cross my mind. And although it could potentially get you in trouble, I guess, damaging her property, I don't think you're the asshole for doing so. I think it's, consequences of our own actions. But fifth PLL says, not the asshole. First off, it sounds like she's blocking a fire exit. If that's the case, that's super illegal. Habitually leaving your crap in the hallway of a fire exit is a big no-no in a lot of places, depending on where you live and the laws there. Even if it's not the designated exit, it still might not be okay if it's thought to be the exit most people would use/most obvious choice. Beyond that, communal areas are not storage space for the lazy and entitled. People essentially planting down a flag with their crap, stroller, scooter, whatever, is not going to work out well for anyone. She doesn't own that space and can't act like it. You were more than kind over a long period of time, multiple times. She either takes her crap back or gets it moved. She made a choice. If you had done nothing, this would have just gone on forever. So, while it's a bummer it got wet, you were out of options. Blue Ripley says, this sounds like a real fire hazard. Contact your fire department and see if there are any ordinances that are relative to your situation. Ray says, not the asshole, but watch your back. Entitled people like your lazy neighbor can be very vindictive. Coconut and Potato says, not the asshole, but watch out. It could be seen as damaging someone's property if you don't have any proof that she agreed to leave the stroller outside. Good for you for standing up, but I would make sure you find a way to get the stroller out of the way without her having a way to blame you for any damages. Now, what do you guys make of this one? What would you do if you found yourself in that situation? Do you think what OP did was okay? Putting it out in the rain, knowing that, it's going to be raining for a long time out there? Story 3. Am I the asshole for backing out of attending my son's wedding because his brother isn't invited? And our next story comes from a throwaway account. Title, Am I the asshole for backing out of attending my son's wedding because his brother isn't invited? I have 2 sons, Azia, apologies if I got that wrong, 22, and Daniel, 24. They had a great childhood together, save for typical sibling disagreements, but nothing out of the ordinary. They grew up in a big family with loving grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins on both sides. However, as they entered their teenage years, they started resenting each other for outside reasons because there were no issues at home. Daniel was seeing a young lady when he was 20. It was his high school sweetheart, even after school, that he planned to get engaged to. But it never happened because Azia lied to her about Daniel stealing from her parents, and she and her parents believed him. Turns out Azia was the one who stole jewelry from Daniel's ex-girlfriend's parents' house and pinned it on Daniel. As a result, her parents filed a police report on Daniel, and Daniel suffered from the lie Azia told to get back at him for selling his bike that originally belonged to Daniel. They were both legally adults when this happened and were told to stay out of their conflict, but we couldn't help but get caught up in the middle. Eventually, the boys stopped seeing or talking to each other. Daniel lives in a rental apartment, while Azia is still in college. Both boys are in contact with me and the family. Daniel is getting married this month. He sent me, his dad, and everyone else in the family an invitation except for Azia. I called Daniel to ask since I assumed he probably didn't send Azia an invitation, but I expected him to accompany me and my husband. He told me no. He intended to not invite his brother because he doesn't want him at the wedding. I felt heavy because Azia already apologized and sought forgiveness and gave Daniel time and space to reconcile. But Daniel kept ignoring him, saying he wanted nothing to do with him. I explained how I felt he was being too harsh on his brother, and he told me not to pressure him about it and to respect his decision. I didn't pressure him but informed him that since Asia isn't invited, then I'm not coming to the wedding. Daniel threw a fit about how I was trying to corner him into inviting Azia, but I replied that I wasn't. I wasn't trying to pressure him or trying to change his mind. I was just letting him know. He lashed out, calling me unbelievable for making his wedding about Asia and not respecting his wishes. He added that I was selfish for putting Asia's feelings over his, and on his wedding no less. We argued, then he hung up after telling me if I don't attend, then he'll never speak to me again. We haven't talked since then. My husband agrees that Daniel is the one complicating things and not being graceful towards his brother, who wants to share his happy day with him. So, Azia, apologies again if I'm getting that name absolutely wrong, stole from someone, actually committed a crime against someone, and then blamed it on his brother, and then he cut him off, and you're still like trying to take his side and say, oh, he sought forgiveness. Why does he deserve forgiveness? He could have potentially done some real damage in that, and he just doesn't want his brother coming to his wedding for that, and that's his boundary, and I think they should be respected. So yes, that would make you the asshole. But Painted Lady 5519 says, so one son tried to ruin the other's life with multiple lies and you're pissed he wasn't invited to a wedding. You're the asshole. To which HDMX 539 replies, that's saying OP this. It's as simple as it gets. You and your husband should stay out of that relationship. Just know this. OP, you're jeopardizing any chance of a relationship you could have with grandchildren if Daniel ends up having children. He won't forget that you sided with his brother, who tried to ruin his life, but you insisted on having a relationship that Daniel simply could not do. You're the asshole, OP. Hogue says, you're the asshole. Azia is not owed and does not deserve Daniel's forgiveness. Neither do you for continuing to try to pretend like what Daniel did was excusable. If you don't go to that wedding, you will never know your grandkids. I dearly hope the family Daniel is marrying into are good people because you are not. And Pretend Mind 5909 says, oh yeah, you're an asshole in this. Your husband is an asshole too in this also. Mostly because you're siding with a brother who quite literally committed a crime and used Danny as a scapegoat. I'd cut ties with him as well. So yes, you're a nice big old asshole. And you probably ruined your relationship with your son. At least you have a criminal in your corner. Congrats. My Squishy Fishy says, you're the asshole. Asia split up a happy couple who might have been together forever with a crime and a lie. To me, no apology would ever be enough. I'd be telling him he's reaping what he sowed 4 years ago. Daniel doesn't deserve your censure for resenting the brother who did that to him. And one more from Miss Ellery, who says, you're the asshole, and quote, there were no issues at home, and then says Asia lied. These sorts of feuds between siblings are long brewing and don't pop up out of nowhere. Asia committed theft and tried to pin the blame on Daniel, and you're still taking Asia's side. Sure sounds like you favor one child over the other. If you love Daniel, go to his wedding without Asia. Except that you will likely never have your sons in the same room ever again, and that you can't force that. Otherwise, you'll be losing any sort of relationship with Daniel. Now, what do you guys make of this one? Story 4. Am I the asshole for calling my dad's girlfriend his mistress? This story is from I Love Soju 29. Am I the asshole for calling my dad's girlfriend his mistress? My mom died of a brain aneurysm 2 years ago. She was 39 at the time. She and Dad, Ben, 42 male, were no longer together before she died because Dad had an affair with his work colleague, Amanda, 37 female. They were getting a divorce, but Mom died before it was finalized. I was 18 when Mom died, and to be honest, I resented my dad because of the heartache he caused my mother, and I blamed him for her death. After Mom's funeral, I refused to talk to him until he recently contacted me, and we started to reconnect. He and Amanda are still together, and I have started to accept their relationship because I saw how happy my father is with her. Last month, Dad informed me that he and Amanda had gotten engaged, and he wanted to let me know first before he shares the news with everyone. I told him I am happy for them. Last week, they had an engagement party where they invited some of our relatives and friends. During the toast, Dad said something like, I just can't wait to marry the perfect woman. I thank God for giving me the love of my life after all those years that I wasted with someone else. I walked out of the room after hearing what my father said. He basically considered his marriage to my late mother a waste of his time. It broke my heart, and I wanted to leave right away. But Dad's friend, my godfather, and Amanda followed me. Amanda said that Dad wants me to give a message, but I told her I can't do that, and I need to go as I feel sick. My godfather tried to convince me to stay and say a few words. I got tired of holding my anger in, and I just said, I have no good words to say about my cheating father and his mistress. I need to go. Amanda got angry with me and called me an asshole and said I need to get over the past. I didn't say anything and just left them behind. I was with my boyfriend, who picked me up when Dad called, and he was very furious with me. Apparently, what I said made Amanda cry, and he's now demanding an apology. He also accused me of ruining his engagement party. I told him I could have made a scene, but I didn't, and there is no way I'm apologizing for stating facts. Am I the asshole? Did I overreact and ruin their party? My boyfriend said he understands how I feel, but my grandparents, Dad's side, are disappointed with me for overreacting and calling Amanda a mistress. I just don't know what goes through that guy's mind to say something like that with, and not even consider his child's feelings when he was saying that. Not even think about it, and still be angry after the fact. I'd be embarrassed. In some ways, it sounded like an attack on the mum, and that might sound a bit harsh of me to say so, but it certainly felt that way to me when reading it. There was no need to say something like that. If I was in that room, I would have been hugely embarrassed about it, and OP did nothing wrong in the situation. In fact, they let that off easily in this, that they got up and walked out and just wanted to be out of there, which was the mature thing to do. In some ways, OP could have easily got up and said something right there and then, said what they said in front of everyone, but they didn't. They got up and tried to get out of there. And then they're asking OP to apologize? It's absolutely ridiculous. Not the asshole to me. But Raven says, not the asshole. What he said was disgusting. Weird Biscuit says, your father stood up and announced to a room full of people that his first marriage, and by extension you, a product of that marriage, was a waste of time. Where is his apology to you? Not the asshole. Unit Healthy says, Dad, I wouldn't have done that and was prepared to give a nice speech until I heard you say you wasted your life with Mum, which means having me was a waste too. That's your truth, and you own it. Now, you did cheat, and she was your mistress. I was truthful too. Rinse and repeat for Grandma and Grandpa, not the asshole. Ray's Underwater says, he said out loud that he wasted his life with your dead mother and that he cheated on her. Oh my goodness, somebody owes somebody an apology, and it's not OP, not the asshole. Distinct Confusion says, not the asshole. You tried to leave when your dad made this tactless speech, and people tried to stop you and force you to play happy families. I'm sorry for your loss, and I hope you have more insightful family members who can support you. Consistent Leopard 71 says, not the asshole. Your cheating father referred to his marriage, of which you were a product, as a waste of his time. You reacted better than I would have. That I would have. Seth Throwaway says, not the asshole. Your dad speaking ill of the dead while their daughter was attending makes him a huge asshole. Maybe you said some things you shouldn't have said in anger, but otherwise you would have been completely respectful of their relationship and in no way ruined their party. And one more from Lynn Harris who says, not the asshole. He owes you a huge apology for including that comment about your mum. So much for him moving on. Apparently that was just a dig at you, and I understand why you would have felt so hurt. You tried to leave quietly, and others kept pushing you to stay and say a few things. I think you should have said something like, thanks for that, Dad. Apparently, I must have been a waste too. That's how I would feel if I heard those words. I think going back to no contact would be a good thing. We're not required to set ourselves on fire to keep other people warm. Your dad is a narcissistic pig, and truth be told, she is his mistress. He cheated on your mum. The other woman is a mistress. That doesn't stop just because of a death or divorce or even an engagement. I wish them many years of wedded misery. Once a cheater, always a cheater.